Bonjour, Mishko Poganon Quain Edition Cosmongdodem. Hi everybody, it's Sandy Boucher once again doing my weekly Facebook Live. It's kind of gray and overcast here in Northern Ontario in Thunder Bay, and today that seems appropriate because today I wanted to talk about 215 fallen feathers. 215 beautiful children that never had the opportunity to grow up, who never had the opportunity to fly. And of course, what I'm referring to is the mass graves found at the Kamloops residential school, the remains of 215 children. The Kamloops residential school was the largest of the residential schools, and the size of this mass grave shows that. But I wanted to share this because I had a couple of comments that I felt really needed to be made. First off, I had several people message me since the news broke on Tuesday, asking me why I had not yet spoken, how, besides sharing the original Vancouver Sun article, why I hadn't said anything. And I think that's a very important question, but I think the answer has to be remembered. In my opinion, before the anger and the protests and the demonstrations must come the grieving. I am a mom. I am a kokum, a grandmother. And like so many other activists, first we had to cry the tears and honor those children who never got to be honored and grieved publicly. They were grieved by the family who never got to welcome them home. They were grieved by the community that knew they were gone. But to most people in Canada, we still have people that are arguing that these things even happened. And that's another point that I had to bring up. During the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, survivor after survivor after survivor talked about graveyards, about a residential school system, the only school system I know of that had graveyards rather than playgrounds. The survivors spoke of the graves of the children, yet people are reacting to this news story like this is news. When are we going to be listened to as Indigenous peoples? When are you going to start believing us? You need to ask yourself that question. To add to that, on LinkedIn this week, I saw a post that referenced a very tragic bus accident a few years back that took so many lives of young people. And en masse, you saw a national grieving. Where is the national grieving? Why is every flag on every town hall not flying at half mast? You want to celebrate Canada Day, then you need to acknowledge the history that created this country and their needs. These children deserve to be remembered and mourned, and not just by their communities and families, but by the people that took them away from us, a system that took them away. And you need to ask yourself, why hasn't that national mourning happened? I know I have my answer. You need to come up with yours. You need to truly ask yourself if this country treats an Indigenous life as valuable as the life of another culture. Because I don't think that's the case. Now, I said I have my answer, and I believe it is because non-Indigenous shame and guilt always is louder than Indigenous pain. then Indigenous grieving, then Indigenous tears. And if you truly want to reconcile, then you need to join us in grieving these children. Once the grieving is done, once the tears have been shed, once these lives cut short have been honored, then, like you, I have many questions that need to be answered. For one, they use the I'm not sure what it's called, the radar, the sonar technology to find the graves. Where is the national call for the grounds of every residential school to be searched? Why are we not finding these children? We need to do this. There needs to be that outcry. Every one of those grounds needs to be searched because way too many children did not make it home. We have to start believing. We have to use, and one last thing that I have said publicly, and I'll repeat again, these kids need to come home. We have the forensic technology, whatever DNA you need to gather. The families, the communities know who's missing. You can get DNA tests, identify those children and send them home, because in my personal opinion, their remains should not stay where they never should have been. These children need to finally come home, and any other child that is found on any other grounds, and you will find more. Please let me be one of the Indigenous you finally do hear. You will find more, and they need to come home. So you can make your demands, and you can have your picket signs and share your outrage on social media. But if you are not grieving these children, if you are not grieving what has been inflicted on and continues to be inflicted on Indigenous people, this is not about your outrage. This is about 215 fallen feathers, children. And I know as a mom and a grandma, if there's one thing I have always hated, and yes, I'm going to use that very strong word, hated about the residential school system, is the Canadian government did not go after adults. They didn't come after us, they went after our kids. And they took 3, 4, and 5 years olds and inflicted this damage on them, tore them from their families, so they missed the people that could protect them. And these 215 are just the beginning of a number of so many children that didn't get to come home. July 1st is just around the corner. If you're going to celebrate that day, then you better be able to accept and carry the responsibility for the true Canadian history and just how many feathers fell because they were taken to those schools. That's my words on this topic. I have no doubt that I have more tears to cry because I have a 5-year-old in my family and an 8-year-old in my family. Think of them being taken. Think of your grandchildren and children being taken. Cry those tears. Think of those 215 kids that never got to come home. Think of them on Canada Day. Sandy out for this week. I love you. Bye-bye.